Hello, morning, Merry Christmas everyone. This is my 50th video. I wanted to do something to commemorate that fact, which is why I've dressed up as a little red tit. This is How Paul Schiernecker Ruined Christmas, which is a poem that I read at the Old Trunk event Winter Tales Now a couple of weeks ago. And I'm really proud of it, and I wish that I had more of an opportunity to share it with people, so this is my attempt to do so. So this is How Paul Schiernecker Ruined Christmas. 'Twas Christmas Day in the Schiernecker home, but Paul was busy texting on his mobile phone. You see, while the turkey was to be roasting, he wanted to be in the pub, raising a toasting. There was a girl going he wanted to impress, in the hopes he could crawl up inside her dress. Mother Schiernecker agreed he could go until 3, but then he was to return to the family, because that's what Christmas is really for, not spilling your beans up inside some whore. "Mother, please!" he yelled from the door, throwing a coat over his shoulders and shuffling on the floor, and heading out into the snow. At last to the pub he could go. Now I should take a moment to explain. This pub was a link in a national chain, but for legal reasons I cannot say. It was a Wetherspoons anyway. So eventually Paul Schiernecker got to the bar to find his share of takings in the tip jar. He'd been working there sporadically when he was home from uni and needed the money, but it didn't matter how much time he put in, his wages always ended up behind the bar again. So he had a double whiskey to get himself going, followed by several pints to keep himself flowing, and he thought he was being entertaining, regaling the punters with tales of his flailing, and slurring false promises into the ear of the girl he lusted for, who amazingly still stayed quite near, and didn't run for the fire exit, although it must be stated, they're exceedingly well illuminated. It was only when covered in tequila, lemon and salt, he realised his own timekeeping fault, because while he had been trying to woo, it had already struck 2:30, and he had a 30-minute walk to find, and that was if he could make it in a straight line, which isn't an easy task, you see, when you're up to your eyeballs in whiskey. When he made it home, Mummy could really tell, because his eyes were lit up like the fires of hell, and he couldn't really articulate how he could possibly be late on such an important date. So he had attempted to sit at the dining table, instantly regretting the Johnny Walker Black Label he had imbibed, trying to seem sophisticated and to convince the girl that they should have dated. A starter was presented that made him feel pale, avocado halves, drenched in prawn cocktail, because even with so many options of food, it's nice to have a starter from 1972. But of course the last thing Paul really needed was the pink and the green he was about to be feeded, so he abandoned the festivities to kneel in front of the porcelain, and to God he appealed. Oh, what was I thinking? I was showing off, thinking I could handle the mixed drinks that I quaffed. So he abandoned Christmas dinner and headed to his room to nuzzle in blankets and find a pillow to spoon. Mother Schiernecker was really pissed off. "Paul Schiernecker ruined Christmas," she scoffed, before sitting with her unusually well-behaved offspring, who couldn't compete with the madness Paul was offering. Despite their abilities to break hearts and bones, they were perfectly docile. They were far too stoned. Several hours later, with a bad head, Paul awoke in the glow of TV on his bed. Still dressed in his jeans and Christmas jumper, he said, "Jesus, this headache's a thumper." But of course Jesus could not call, partly because it was his birthday, but mostly because he's fictional. So Paul looked up at the television, feeling more cut up than the circumcision, to see Pauline Fowler collapse in the snow. First Arthur, now this, how low can they go? Mark drove off into the sunset on his bike made of AIDS, and Martin smashed in Sonia's barricades. I give up on soap operas, I live my life for me. And he went downstairs to apologise to Mummy.